Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about addiction. Now for over 8 years I've worked in, I guess, how do you want to say? I guess you could say the field of addiction, or worked with people who have been struggling with drugs and alcohol. So for over 8 years I have seen up close, the struggles for people who are dealing with drug addiction, alcohol addiction, even sex addiction, right? So, what I want to talk about is just what it looks like behind the scenes. And as I get into it, you'll figure out what I'm talking about when I say I'm looking at the behind the scenes. In in several upcoming videos, what I will do is I'll get even more detailed and break certain things down and talk about addiction, talk about specific areas of addiction, addiction in relationships, addiction and employment, all that sort of stuff, more specifically by itself. But today I want to just kind of put the human side behind addiction because I think a lot of times it's lost. So, as I've said, for the last 8 years, I have, for over 8 years, I have worked in the field or the area of addiction, working with people who are struggling with drugs and alcohol. And I, the interesting thing about that line of work is I didn't. It kind of happened by accident, to be quite honest with you, how I got interested in that. So I was really looking for something to do that would really help to educate people, right? That's really what I was looking for. I was looking for an opportunity to where I could work with people and where I could educate, help educate them. And then that came along, and I was like, well, I thought this is really interesting. And I'm going to tell you, it is so interesting to see what drugs and addiction looks like when you see families, right? And wow, this is like so, there's so much. But when you see families torn apart because of addiction, when you see husbands, husband and wife struggling to get through a relationship because of drugs and alcohol, because of addiction. When you see a mother crying because she can no longer provide for her child because of addiction. When you see a father just completely torn apart because he cannot be that role model, he cannot be that father that he really wants to be, but again, because of addiction. I have seen instances where parents have not talked to their child for years because they have gotten so I fed up, perhaps is a term that we could use, but also so tired of seeing their child in and out of prison, in and out of prison. And that's something else I'm going to talk about, right? Because prison, jail, is no place for someone whose main issue is addiction. Prison is not a cure. It is not a place. It's not the solution to addiction. But you would see, as I was saying, parents who they haven't seen their child in years. Because the child went to prison, went to jail, whatever the case is, and then from prison they have now at a rehab, and eventually the child reaches out to the parent and the parent visits the child at the rehab. And I've seen people, just grown people, and I'm telling you, I'm talking about grown people, just break down and cry because of that dynamic that's been broken because of the fact that, these people have not been able to connect because of drugs. So behind the scenes, I can't even tell you of how many mothers who just were wondering, I wonder what's going on with my daughter, or what's going on with my son, or what's going on, with their kids or their family members, or whatever the case is, because they couldn't be there, and their child or kids are being raised by, fortunately enough for a lot of them, it wasn't a court system, but it was by a family member or grandparents, or siblings, or whatever the case is, that are taking care of their kids why they are locked up. Uh, in in the span of the over 8 years that I've worked, uh, helping people trying to deal with first, and then I guess you could say overcome or and sustain a meaningful life off of drugs. I'm telling you about thousands of people that I've come across, literally, that I have seen. And the interesting thing about my role in that is, and my role at the rehab, is that at some point, if you graduated the program, and even if you didn't graduate, because there are times where people would be doing well, they'll get close to graduating the program, which was typically about a 2-year program, but then they would leave, right? And that's something I'll talk about in subsequent videos. Why sometimes people would just get up and leave. But if you were in that program for a certain number of months, every single one, every single one of those people who went through that program at some point in time, they had a conversation with me, either individually or as a group. And a lot of times, group conversations led to individual conversations after groups. So I have talked to thousands of people, and this is not a joke, thousands of people, either in a group setting or individually, who are struggling with drugs and alcohol. So the behind the scenes is really just to let you know that these are people, right? These are people who are, they're good people. And I know it's probably hard for some people to believe that, but they're normal, they're good people. But what has happened is, for a number of reasons, people have picked up certain vices. People have become addicted to a drug, or addicted to sex, or addicted to, alcohol, and have become completely dependent on that drug, that alcohol, whatever it is. And because of that, their lives are not functioning in a certain way again. So behind the scenes, you see the struggle, right? Someone could be okay today, and then uh, tomorrow they could be triggered by something and want to completely just walk away and leave the program. And they would have been in the program for 6 months or 9 months or whatever the case is. The retention rate was always higher, and I think this is perhaps more true for generally for rehabs. But the longer the person is there, the retention rate obviously would be higher at the end. It's always, can you get the person to perhaps get through the first 3 months or so of rehab, and or to be clean for the first 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months of rehab. That's where the danger point is, because for a lot of people, that's where the big struggle is. Right? Is that detox period, and then immediately after that, as they're trying to be normal without, depending on a substance to be normal, you know trying to be normal without feeling like I have to have a drink, or I have to stick a needle in my arm, or I have to have sex with somebody to feel normal or whatever. All those different types of situations, and obviously it's even worse when you combine it. When you combine a situation where someone probably has, it's not just a drug or alcohol addiction, but it's combined with a sex addiction or something else. I mean, it's a lot. And so behind the scenes, I'm telling you, I have seen people struggle, right, to not reach for something, to be able to go to work, and to be in around people. And a lot of times people don't know that they are, and even if they did, but to see someone at work who might be drinking or going outside and smoking on their lunch break, some type of drug or whatever the case is, it's a challenge to remain clean. And so that is a journey that I want to take you through. Now, I talk about a lot of different types of things in the channel, right? Because the goal is, as I said, is to educate people about a number of different topics and to motivate us to do things that are good for us. Like, that's my purpose of the channel, right? Is so that we have knowledge, because I believe knowledge is power, and we're also motivated to accomplish certain things in our life. So you'll see me do a lot of content on addiction. And as I'll share with you my over 8 years of experience with that, as someone who's worked with people, thousands of people struggling with addiction. So look forward to that. And I didn't say it earlier, but if you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe so you can keep up when I post. Don't forget to hit the post notification bell as well. So turn that on. Leave your comments. And if there are any videos you would like for me to make, any topic you would like for me to talk about, just let me know. You can leave that in the comments or email me privately. But thank you again for taking the time to watch. And as I always say, I know that you could be watching someone else's video, so I want to thank you for taking the time to watch mine. So keep in mind, we're going to talk a lot more about this, a lot more videos to come. But until next time, be good. Peace.